Hey y'all, how you doing? And welcome to Nashville, Tennessee. We are downtown Nashville, Tennessee in what is known as Music Row. And we are standing here on the corner of Music Square and Roy Acuff, right in front of the famous RCA Studio B. Now this studio was built in 1956 at the behest of Chet Akins, I believe. And it was built as a place for all the artists that were starting to come into the area to have a place to record for RCA Studios. Big name, big name in recording artists, especially in that era. This was the heyday in the 1960s and into the 1970s of country music in Nashville here in the United States. Now, obviously, country music has exploded since then and become much more popular amongst the general populace and is probably more widespread, and the recording, therefore, has also spread. This is still the heart of the industry, though. We are just a block or so off of 16th Avenue, which some of you may be familiar with the famous tune of the same name by Lacey J. Dalton. So this is the heart of the country music theater, if you will. Now in 2000, around 2000, this closed. It was purchased in 2002 by a benevolent foundation and donated to the Country Music Hall of Fame, who now co-own it with the local university. And it's used for two purposes. One is a cultural icon, of course, and a tourist attraction. People come here to tour it. But it's also used as a classroom for the study of sound and sound engineering for local middle and high school students. So it does serve an academic purpose and is still used for recording and the study of that profession here in Nashville, which I think is a pretty cool thing, that young folks that are going to school here in the Nashville area can actually study sound engineering at Studio B. I think that is so very, very cool. Now this small, unassuming little building, which was built at a cost of just over $37,000, if you can believe that, in 1956, and only took 4 months to build, has had a long list of very famous names record here. Some of you probably have heard of, like Elvis Presley, Dolly Parton, Waylon Jennings, Chet Akins, Hank Snow, who did I've Been Everywhere. You may not remember Hank Snow's name, but you should remember I've Been Everywhere, man. Yeah, I've Been Everywhere. He recorded here. So a long list, and I'll try and find a way to list them somewheres here on the screen, or maybe a scroll if I've got the software for it, to show you the list of some of the more really famous names that recorded in this little unassuming studio here in Music Row in Nashville. So although the building itself seems small and unobtrusive and not very spectacular, not a huge glass and steel structure, yeah, a lot of really great music and was made here. A lot of famous people made their mark here. Johnny Cash recorded here. So yeah, it's a very important part of Americana, American culture, American history, especially the music scene. And now it's just a tourist attraction. It's almost a little sad. But again, it does still serve an educational purpose, which I think is very cool. Now the interior, when it was redone in the early 2000s, was restored to how it looked in the 1970s. Now, unfortunately, we're here on a Saturday and it's evening. They're not open, so I can't take you inside, but there's plenty of, if you're really that interested, other places on the internet to find the interior. It's not really a great deal to see. There's a couple of things in cases and whatnot. The real interest here is in the culture and the history of it. So we're not able to go inside, and I am sorry about that.
It's in the fact that this is where Elvis and Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash walked.
Well, there is that. You know, Bev's kind of almost in tears here. I can't use that, dear.
Oh.
that is kind of cool to think that these are the stairs that Elvis Presley walked up, that Johnny Cash walked up, that Dolly Parton walked up. These very same stairs. Yeah, that might make your hair stand on end just a little bit. In 2011, this plaque was erected here, telling you all about the history of it, or at least some of the history of it. The building of Studio A next door, and all those sorts of things. But in 2012, it was actually designated as a National Historic Landmark by the United States Park Service. So that tells you something about just what an important thing to the nation Studio B really is. Now you can see here that they claim, and I believe it's true, that this studio is responsible for developing the Nashville sound. And I think that probably everybody knows what that is. Now that's probably changed over the years. Maybe a little less twangy, a little more fast beat, more, you know, where rock and country have fused maybe just a little. Maybe not quite so much steel guitar, but it's still there. But I think everybody has a clear mental construct of what the Nashville sound is. And that happened right here on this little unassuming street corner in Nashville, Tennessee. So actually, and we're gonna break just for a minute and turn around and show you this tour bus, because this is, Bev, follow me around. Let's do a do-si-do. Check this out, folks. This is, hey everybody. So apparently there is a bachelor and bachelorette party going on side by side. That was completely spontaneous. I love those sorts of things. And they all seem to be having a very good time. I couldn't resist catching that on film. So anyway, folks, I'd like you to thank you for joining us here on the Real United States at Studio B here in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, the capital of the great state of Tennessee, incidentally. If you've got questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. I love hearing from everybody. I try to get back to everybody I can. And as always, thank you for watching.